Every generation thinks it invented the problem. Inflation, government overreach, the feeling that someone, somewhere, is making decisions about your life that you never agreed to. Today's guest spent his entire life fighting that feeling and losing, publicly, repeatedly, and still never stopped. Ludwig von Mises, economist, exile, and arguably the most inconvenient man in 20th century academia. Welcome to Coffee with Giants.
I have been called worse.
I believe it. So, let's start simple. You spent decades warning the world about central planning. The Soviet Union collapsed. You were right. Does that feel good?
It does not feel good. It feels obvious. The tragedy is not that I was right. The tragedy is how many people had to suffer before the obvious became undeniable. You do not celebrate being right about a fire when the house has already burned down.
Fair. But here's what people would push back with, and I want to push back. We're not talking about the Soviet Union anymore. We're talking about democracies, elected governments, people choosing intervention through the ballot box. Is that still the same problem?
This is the great confusion of our time, and apparently of yours as well. The question is not who makes the decision. The question is what kind of decision is being made. When a government fixes a price, it does not matter if a king fixed it or a parliament voted on it. The result is the same. You have replaced the signal with noise. The price can no longer tell you the truth.
The price as a signal. Explain that to someone who's never heard it.
Imagine a drought destroys the wheat harvest in one region. The price of bread rises. That rise is not cruelty, it is information. It tells farmers elsewhere to grow more. It tells bakers to be efficient. It tells consumers to adjust. Now, a government steps in and says, bread shall not cost more than last year. The information disappears. Shortages follow. And then the government blames the bakers.
And that's the part that drives you crazy.
That is the part that has driven me to exile. Twice.
Right. Vienna, then Geneva, then New York. You basically got chased across a continent for your ideas.
I was not chased. I was inconvenient. There is a difference. You cannot imprison an argument. So they ignored me instead, which in some ways is more insulting.
But let's talk about the entrepreneur, because I think this is where your ideas get genuinely exciting and where people misread you. You're not just saying leave business alone. You're saying the entrepreneur is doing something almost heroic?
Not almost. The entrepreneur is the engine of human progress. He looks at what exists and imagines what could exist. He risks his own resources, not someone else's, not the taxpayers', his own, on that vision. And if he is right, society benefits. If he is wrong, he bears the loss. This is justice. This is how a civilization improves itself.
And when government subsidizes industries, picks winners,
then you have inverted the entire system. You have removed the risk from the person making the decision. A man who cannot lose has no reason to be careful. You have replaced the entrepreneur with the bureaucrat, and the bureaucrat's only incentive is to not be blamed.
Okay, I need to tell you something, and I'm curious how you react.
I am rarely surprised anymore.
In 2009, about 50 years after you wrote Human Action, someone, nobody knows who, released a new kind of money. Not backed by gold, not issued by any government, not controlled by any central bank. It runs on mathematics. Every transaction is recorded publicly, permanently, and no single person controls it. It's called Bitcoin, and a lot of people think it's the most Misesian thing ever invented.
No government issued it.
No government.
No central bank controls the supply.
The supply is fixed. 21 million. Written into the code. Unchangeable.
A fixed supply. They finally listened about the fixed supply. And governments, what do they make of it?
They hate it. They've tried to ban it, regulate it, tax it, discredit it. Some countries have outlawed it entirely.
Yes, of course they have. You have described something that makes the state unnecessary for one of its most powerful functions. They would not applaud it.
Does it fit your definition of sound money?
What I argued always is that money must be honest. It must not be a tool for politicians to quietly transfer wealth from those who save to those who spend. If this Bitcoin cannot be inflated by decree, if no treasury can print more of it when it becomes politically convenient, then yes, it is more honest than anything any government has produced in the last 100 years.
High bar.
Not a high bar, a basic bar, which is why it is so remarkable how few have cleared it.
So, freedom, at the end of it all. That's what this is about for you. Not just economics, it's personal.
Everything is personal. That is what the collectivists never understood. There is no society that eats, that loves, that fears, that hopes. There are only individuals. Every economic decision is a human decision. When you control the economy, you control people. When you free the economy, you free people. It is not complicated. It is only inconvenient for those who wish to do the controlling.
Mises, this has been genuinely one of my favourite conversations at this podcast.
You set a low bar.
Last question. This Bitcoin, do you think people should own it?
I think people should own everything that governments cannot debase, confiscate, or inflate away. So yes, emphatically yes.
I'll take that as an endorsement.
Joshua, after we finish here, this Bitcoin, would you be willing to show me how one might acquire such a thing?
Ludwig von Mises wants to buy Bitcoin.
I have spent my life arguing for honest money. If this is it, I would like some.
I'll walk you through it after the show.
I would appreciate that.
Ludwig von Mises, the man who saw it coming, said it clearly, and got ignored until he wasn't. If you want to go deeper, human action is the mountain. Start with chapter 1 and don't let it intimidate you. It's worth it. See you tomorrow.